biggest crypto failure in history is probably FTX at $9 billion. Were you the chairman of the SEC when FTX collapsed?
Yes.
And how many times did you meet with FTX prior to their collapse?
I think my public record shows 2.
You met it with FTX at least twice. And arguably, the second biggest crypto failure in history was Terra Luna. Who was the chairman of the SEC when Terra Luna collapsed, sir?
We had brought...
You were, sir, reclaiming my time. You were. Does it concern you that your approach to the digital asset industry is actually driving this industry out of the United States?
We're trying to drive it to compliance, and if they're not complying with the laws...
You say the crypto market is rife with non-compliance. However, existing SEC rules make no sense for blockchain-based companies, and following them would actually kill these businesses. Your regulatory style lacks flexibility and nuance, and as a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect every...
Fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes. We don't need more digital currency. We already have digital currency. It's called the US dollar. It's called the euro. They're all digital right now. We already have digital investments. It's all digital right now, the investment. We don't actually know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. But it's a study question a few lectures from now to ask you to tell me who you think Satoshi Nakamoto is. So I won't ask that now. Bitcoin right now is about 550,000 blocks, and the blocks are added on average every 10 minutes. And we'll talk about why it's every 10 minutes, and not only why Satoshi Nakamoto made it every 10 minutes, but how they maintain that. Other blockchains, like Ethereum, it's about every 7 seconds. So don't get too caught up that it's all the same. And there's some technologist here, 𝐒𝐀𝐂𝐊 is working on Algorand, and that's even tighter, less than 7 seconds. So we already know in the US and in many other jurisdictions that 3/4 of the market are not ICOs or not what would be called securities, even in the US, Canada, and Taiwan, the 3 jurisdictions that follow something similar to the Howey test. 3/4 of the market is non-securities. It's just a commodity, a cash crypto. So you'll hear debates about initial coin offerings and what's a security and what's not a security. Relevant and important debate, but for 3/4 of the market, it's not particularly relevant as a legal matter.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency. Because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger.
There were 3 banks that failed in those handful of days, those 4 or 5 days. And 2 of those banks, the first and the third that failed, Silvergate and Signature, were engaged in the crypto business. I mean, some would say they were, crypto banks. So it's interesting just how this was all had some crypto narrative as well.
It is a misnomer that the failure of Signature Bank was related to crypto. What we saw with Signature Bank is that it had a new-fashioned bank run, and the outflow of deposits were from a broad depositor base, including wholesale food vendors, fiduciaries, trust accounts, law firms. And in fact, the outflow of crypto deposits were in exact proportion to their representation in the depositor base overall. And in fact, some of those deposit outflows were actually pre-planned. So it's, of course, unfortunate that there was a run on the bank at Signature prompted by what we saw with SVB, but it is not the case that the failure of Signature was related to crypto.